Greetings and salutations, everyone. As always, I'm Diamond Mine. This week, let's check out the Virts. Let's kick off this week with the Fall-Winter 2017 edition. I absolutely love the colorway here. The forest green goes really great with these two shades of gray, and I believe this was the first deck where they introduced this faceted design in each triangle. Fantastic. Now, like all Virtuoso decks, these are thin crushed, but they have a really special feel to them. Y'all know I'm not the biggest fan of thin crushed, but I love Virtuoso. They have that same classic design, borderless, but with a lot of great fanning motifs. Let's check them out in action. Definitely one of my favorite decks. Let's move on to the next deck in the series, and that's the Virtuoso Perspective series, the P1s. If you remember this deck's release, you remember it took a super long time and it was super hyped up. Now, as far as feel, this deck is pretty much exactly like the last one. It's thin crushed, but still really durable. Really great linen finish on it, and they farrow the same way from bottom to top. Everything about the feel is exactly the same. But with this deck, they introduced what I call a quarter border. That way you can still track packet cuts visually really well, while still having a lot of the fanning motifs. One thing that was a little bit disappointing is they took out the fanning motifs from the faces, and then they also changed to like this 4-color system, which I was not a fan of at first, but I don't hate it anymore. I just wish they would have kept all 4 colors. Every deck since then has changed up the colors, and I honestly think this was the best version of it. Anyway, let's check them out in action. Definitely one of my faves from them. It was worth the wait. All right, let's move on to the next deck in the series. Also a perspective deck, but with a red colorway this time. It's just like the original, except it's introduced that quarter border we talked about last time. I think that's genius because the Virts have found a way to have a border to track your packet cuts and still keep this corner for your fanning motifs as well. Now, just like all their other decks, it's thin crushed, but it has a lot of finish, so it's really durable. Barrels from bottom to top. You can't go wrong. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? The colorway is really where this deck shines. They've reproduced their original black and red colorway. Instead of the full border, they've done that quarter border that we talked about last time. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is they took that 4-color system from the suits and pips and indices, and they've reduced that just to red and black. Anyway, that's enough out of me. Let's check them out in action. I was super stoked when those came out. All right, let's check out the next deck in the series, and that is a double release, the Moments deck. We're going to take a look at the white version first. As far as how they handle, they feel exactly like every other deck from the Virts, but in my opinion, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, one thing they have introduced with this deck is a full border, which I am a big fan of. For packet cuts, it looks great. And then on the faces, they took that same system of pips and indices that were red and black from before, and they used the back design colors once again, but this time they've introduced an outline around all the pips and indices, and I just think it looks a lot better for sure. Anyway, that's enough out of me. Let's see how they look in action. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the new border. Let's check out the other deck in the series, and that's Open Court 2. Now, over the years, Virtuoso has perfected the feel of their cards, and as I said in the previous videos, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. These cards feel exactly like all the other releases from them, and that's not a bad thing. I like how they've inverted the colors for a white circle and a dark border. It's really creative. It's just if you do any sort of magic, obviously, it won't work, but who does magic with playing cards anymore anyways? Alright, that's enough out of me. Let's check them out in action. Alright y'all, that's going to do it for this series. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next. Of course, like and share for more Cardistry content. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And remember, Cardistry is a video art form. Learning to make better videos does make you a better cardist.